agenda?
So I think this is going to be it for attendance tonight. I appreciate everybody making the time. Michelle can't be here tonight. She had another commitment, and Kim emailed me a few minutes ago and letting me know that she was stuck at work. So this is kind of us. And Joe, you were asked earlier about whether or not there are any pending applications. There are not. There are not any.
Are we short people?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We
We
are
don't-
short
We
3
don't have
people.
6.
We have how many?
6 out of 9.
We don't have a 6.
Instead of 9?
9? Yeah.
6 out of the last, 3 out of the last, or is it 2 out of the last 3, or 3 out of the last 4 meetings didn't have a quorum?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's only Michelle, Kimberly, and Joe not here. That's it.
Now, if I were Michelle and my attendance meant there would be an election of officers, I would have shown up.
That's kind of what I was
Well,
wondering.
it is on the agenda,
But
but
you
by
can't do
the
it.
second meeting of every calendar year,
Yeah.
the ordinance calls for the committee to choose a chair and a vice chair. But without quorum, there isn't a meeting tonight,
Can
so
we
we'll
just
take it up next month.
pretend that you 3 make the call? I'm sorry, it's a bad joke.
Yeah, Joe, you're on,
Very bad.
you're being recorded too.
No, I turn this off.
Recordings are always funny.
No, I turn it off.
But it is on there because it's a second meeting item. But since
So
there
can we-
isn't.
So
Sorry.
can we find out if anybody here is interested in running?
Mhm.
Can we also put out a solicitation asking if anybody from the, is interested in running from the committee? I'd be interested in being vice chair or something,
Mhm.
anyway.
That would
But
be good, Lisa.
maybe some others are interested, I don't know, and I
Mhm.
don't want to squash anybody from being interested. But maybe we can hold an election by
That's the
email
way
so that we
you're
get it
leading in
done.
attendance.
Oh, can we do that? Can we do it by email?
I think, I don't know what else to do if we don't have a quorum here, so.
Yeah, we can, email
Can we
would
do
be
that?
fine. No?
No.
Okay, James
So,
is shaking his
can
head.
We can
Can you
send,
first solicit,
we can solicit by email, we can't vote by
So
email.
I'll send in a note, I'll include in the note, I thought I did last month, a note about the fact that there is turnover during
So-
the beginning of every calendar year. And then if anybody is interested in, they can respond to the group and then we can take it up as a group next month.
you can either take it as a group next month, or if we can't vote by email, we could have a conference call. If people can't, aren't gonna, if we're supposed to get it done by the second meeting, I don't want them to say, well, this
Well,
committee.
it's not a meeting unless there's quorum. So
Right,
next
what if
month would
there's-
be the second meeting of the year. officially.
Oh,
Oh,
well, okay.
okay.
This is not
That's
a
me.
meeting.
Fine.
Okay.
This is an update session.
Boy, are you sharp.
Not my first rodeo.
Okay.
But
you
that's
make a
an-
good point, Lisa, about obviously the importance of quorum and trying to be, give folks the opportunity to communicate in any way they can. So
Well, and I
hopefully-
thought we defined quorum 2 ways. I thought there were quorums for, I thought.
I think it's set out in the.
I thought it was set out that if you didn't have, 9 people, the quorum wasn't dependent on 9 people.
No.
Huh?
One more than half of the.
Of the members?
Of the members,
Okay, that's fine.
total.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were stuck because of the.
No,
morning,
there's
but-
no more gray area.
Good.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
tonight will be an update session, and like we just talked about, a leadership election can't happen tonight without quorum, and officially this isn't a meeting, so we'll take this up next month, and I'll keep, like your good suggestion, Lisa, I'll include a note with the update meeting notes that I'll send out to the group, inviting folks who are interested in to respond, and let everybody know we'll take it up next month, and hopefully come to a resolution with some folks that are interested in either serving in a role or continuing in the role that they have. Technically, we don't have a vice chair right now. That was Corinne, who left for school a couple of months ago. So we are vice chairless at the moment, and Michelle has ably served as the committee's chair for
We'll
over
see
the
if
last
she still wants to.
Mhm. So we skipped ahead an item. So we had a couple of update items, and then Jim Payne is here on behalf of the Rock Creek Master Homeowners Association to talk about a topic that we've talked about more than once in this room and probably other rooms, the blowing trash and recyclables that happens on trash day. So I was going to go through the items that I had noted as new business and update items, kind of calendar items. A couple of big picture items, while I have my calendar out, is just to note that next month we're going to meet with the town board for the annual joint town board and committee work session, a dinner. Everybody here except Essie has been to one where we get a chance to sit down with the members of the Board of Trustees and talk about work plan items, priorities, maybe items that might make sense to share that aren't part of a work plan, or probe or ask the members of the Board of Trustees about any questions that the committee members might have about potential direction from the board to the committee that might make sense to communicate over dinner. Usually, like you guys know, I like to choose fajitas because, like I was telling you before the meeting, fajitas bring people together.
Yeah.
So there will be a chance before that meeting. So that meeting is listed on here, March 14th.
And that's Monday, right?
That is a
That's
Monday.
Monday.
So the town board meets on the second and fourth Monday monthly. So each of the advisory committees gets paired up on one of those Mondays as a work session item. So the hour prior to the regular town board meeting is an opportunity to have these work sessions, these joint work sessions with the members of each of the advisory committees. And also the HOA and the fire district and one or two other groups every year. So usually the first half of the year, the town board goes to the additional effort to host each of the advisory committees and other groups to just enhance that level of communication. So that'll be March 14th. So this group's regular meeting will be that Thursday prior, March 10th. So we'll have a chance to talk about topics then, and that's also on here. Topics that we've covered in the past have typically been work plan items. Last year we talked about the dog waste compost program and the trash contracts and diversion goals and a couple of other things. And that's usually been, I guess, the two that I've been to with this group since I've been in my current role for the town. I've generally focused on work plan items and given the opportunity for the committee members to share with the board members or answer questions about what particular programs or topics are listed in the work plan that might not be that familiar to all the members of the Board of Trustees, and then also for the committee members to share items that might make sense to discuss that weren't captured in the work plan. So we'll plan on that for March 14th, and I'll send you a calendar item reminder for that, and then we can finalize some topics to have as placeholders for that discussion during the March 10th meeting. All right, so if anybody doesn't have anything else they want to add to the agenda, I'll just jump into the new business and updates. Last month I mentioned that PACE, the Partners for a Clean Environment, the multi-jurisdictional effort led by the Boulder County Commissioner's Office and the folks that work there. You all have met with Leah Yancey and other members of the team from the Sustainability Office there a couple of times in the past. And next month they are going to hold a 3-community after-hours event with the Chamber, with the Louisville, Lafayette, and Superior Chambers. So March 9th, the day before the regular meeting of this group, Leah was very nice to move this from that Thursday to the Wednesday. So March 9th at the Elks Lodge in Louisville. If you think about downtown Louisville, Main Street, on the south side of the Main Street area, there is an Elks Lodge. So from 5 to 7, a chance to go and be hosted with some lovely hors d'oeuvres and drinks with the Chambers of Commerce from each of the 3 communities in this part of Boulder County at a business after hours event. So that should be a good time. So if anybody's interested in that, feel free or let me know if you have any questions. Next, the household hazardous waste and hard to recycle.
Is that the Chamber's business after hours event for that month, or is this a PACE event?
I think it's a PACE event that is,
In addition to it.
I don't know if the Chambers are going to host their usual one. I can check.
Do you need to sign up for being there?
No, you can just
show up?
I think you just show up. I'm going to get an official invitation. Leah didn't have a chance to get the official invitation together.
Oh.
But you all will receive one. Let me just bring it up.
It's
She let me know that there would be one, but this is Superior Douglas County. That's funny.
What is that?
You said Douglas County.
Our Douglas County, Colorado.
Let's find the address here.
Is it Superior?
Wisconsin. This is Superior, Wisconsin.
Yeah, there
The
is a
infamous
Superior.
Superior, Wisconsin.
Is it in Douglas County?
Apparently it is. That's funny.
Not Superior, Wyoming.
There's a few of them.
Yep.
All right, bear with me here. So, upcoming events. So in case, this is my chance to put in a plug for the Superior Chamber of Commerce. There's some great programs that Heather and her folks and the members of the Chamber's Board of Directors host. And they are all on their website. It's a very handy website if you haven't had a chance to look at it. So the March Business After Hours, it is. So this is the Chamber's Business After Hours. So March 9th, 5 to 7. And it is, so PACE is hosting it, but it is the tri-county or a tri-jurisdiction monthly business after hours. So it's a great opportunity to see members of the Lafayette Chamber, Louisville Chamber, and then meet members of our chamber if you haven't had a chance to meet them before. 525 Main Street, there's the address. So I'll send that out in the meeting notes from this
Up, you
update
pay it
session.
again. $10 if you show up as a non-member at the door.
Oh, there you go, there is a fee.
So eat a lot if you get there.
So eat a lot, drink a lot of booze, chance to hang out. But the business after hours events, if you haven't had a chance to go to one before, they are great. It's a great group of folks in the Superior Chamber. I haven't met the folks at the Lafayette or Lewis Chamber. I'll try to go to this one. All right, so next on the list, we have PACE After Hours event next month. So we have kind of a busy March. March and April tend to be the busy season for a lot of people, a lot of things, a lot of programs, a lot of organizations, and we are no exception. So we've got the PACE After Hours event, the Household Hazardous Waste and Hard to Recycle Collection event. I talked about the date last month that we had coordinated with the school again at El Dorado KA on a weekend where we can have materials dropped on Friday and be gone on Monday. There's no school on that Friday and Monday. And it's that same week as last year, that third weekend, or second weekend, third week of April. So just like the last few years that you're familiar with, so you're new, having a volunteer or two for a couple of hours each at the beginning and the second half of that event is helpful, and we do tracking sheets of why people are there and what they're there to drop off so that we can have a year-to-year comparison. And Ton, you were there last year, you remember it snowed.
Yep.
And
then all the sheets are wet.
Yeah, all the sheets were wet. We gave it an honest effort, but we had to maybe round a little bit on our totals. But it was great. It was very well attended, even though there was wet in the afternoon. Yeah, yeah, it was interesting. It started out in the 30s with heavy wet snow, and by the time it was over and we were cleaning up at noon, it was in the 50s and sunny. It was one of those days when you got everything in one day. So calendar note there, we can talk more about that next month, but like you know, I'm going to let you know about these events way in advance and then keep hammering you so that everybody gets a chance to get it in their calendar. And that's also the same day as Arbor Day, April 16th, the 10 a.m. to noon event. So again, this year they'll be held on the same day. So it's a chance, even though it's a busy day,
I can sign up for 9 to 10, but I can't do after that.
Okay. I'm putting you down, Lisa. 9 to 10 for the household hazardous event, and then not for the Arbor Day event. So again, the folks, Katie and on Parks, Rec, and Open Space Department.
It's the Met Opera Roberto Devereux, sorry. Starts at 10:55 in Boulder, sorry.
Well, that sounds fun too. But the Arbor Day plans, as you know, we talked a little bit about in the past. The sustainability-related folks that have been invited there will be back. We talked a little bit last month about potential additional folks to invite, and I didn't look at those again. There was someone who committed to calling the Denver Botanical Garden.
Yeah, I haven't got
Was that
all of
Essie?
them yet, so.
Didn't get through? All right. So we'll keep plugging away on those. Katie Rummel on Patrick's staff in the Parks, Rec, and Open Space Department does a great job coordinating with Boulder County and some of the other entities to come and provide advice, swag, other things to get the message out about landscaping and trees and the value of Arbor Day and why it's an important event. This is going to be at Founders Park again. We'll be at Founders Park until we get that whole place full of trees. And then we'll start probably on El Dorado, the El Dorado site park. Next, so a couple of fun ones, not necessarily date items. So the yard waste facility, y'all are familiar with, we talked about it over on Honey Creek Lane between the Saddlebrook and Horizon communities, where the dog park and bike park and disc golf course are. There is a yard waste facility there that's open 3 days a week, Wednesday afternoons, and then all day Saturday and all day Sunday, closed for lunch between 12 and 1 on Saturday and Sunday. We have been working hard to find the budget and staffing resources to keep it open all year. This is a topic that has been part of the dialogue for this group, I think, as long as the yard waste site has existed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa. So the idea of having it open and staffed for more than just the growing season has been a topic of dialogue it's just been part of our dialogue. It's a truism.
I call it the heavy growing season.
We have growing season and then the heavy growing season. And like we all know, there are trees that keep their leaves until now, in some cases it seems. And then landscaping projects that happen all year, and other tree trimming and pruning projects. So the ability to have it open all year is something that the town manager and board have been working hard to find the resources to make happen. And Patrick Hammer, the director of the Parks, Rec, and Open Space Department, is taking it on as a responsibility this year to work to find staff and volunteer resources to keep it open all year on that 3-day-a-week schedule. And then I also included on here as a reminder, because I did slip my mind now that I look at it, Boulder County has a sustainability matching grant program that was funded again this year by the Boulder County Commissioners, and we worked last week to submit a grant application to receive some funding to help offset our gap in trying to staff the yard waste facility during these expanded hours. So we're hoping that grant application will be awarded, and we'll have some additional resources to make sure that the yard waste facility can be staffed and have enough budget support to keep it open all year. So a good news item there that we hadn't really talked about here, not really since we talked about the work plan really a couple of months ago as a wish item, a thing that the committee would like to see happen as a program item for the town. So good news there. Next, banner and giveaway item for events this year. One of the items that was included in this year's budget was having a giveaway, a swag item to have at present at events, and then also a banner. Like we learned during the Chili Fest event, Prostack and OSAC had the green banners with the white letters on it. So this group has a banner now. It's been ordered. I haven't received it yet. It might be across the street. And then also as a giveaway item, we had a couple of options. This group, I think, has really focused more on the bags. Maybe it grew out of the idea, the policy discussion that this group had with the Board of Trustees last year about having a bag fee or having reusable bags available at stores. So it made sense to think about a reusable bag. So this is the bag that the Chamber of Commerce uses to deliver new resident kits as a new resident gift bag that they deliver, that also has the Shop Superior logo on it. So there's an opportunity here for maybe a little bit of co-marketing, some partnership or cross-promotion with the Town of Superior and the Superior Chamber of Commerce to go in together and order another $1,000 or so worth of these bags, and then they will have some that could be passed out to their constituents, and then this group could have this as an item to hand out at events. It isn't a cotton washable reusable bag. It's this kind of nylon material. I'll pass it around.
Oh, it's not the pressed stuff though either. It's nylon?
I don't know. Heather just gave me one.
Well, there's some that's kind of like almost like pressed fabric, and then they rip, they shred, and you definitely can't wash them.
I don't know if you could wash this one. Same
Well,
thing.
and I was thinking that instead that you might think about the superior color of that dark red or.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's been different colors. This one was nice because it was kind of a Broncos color. They've also had the burgundy color and I think green ones.
How much does this cost?
Those are about $1.
Oh, okay.
The cotton ones that are reusable and washable
Stuff.
But you
are
can still wash those,
closer to
right?
$3 a unit.
Oh, you cannot?
I don't think so.
No, I mean hand wash, right? Oh, not
Why
even
would
hand
you?
wash?
You wouldn't want to push it
Why
in your
would
washer.
you?
You wouldn't want to put it in
No.
your washer.
No, you don't put it in water, but the hand wash should be fine, right?
Yeah, so it's-
Huh. I do. I just wash them. You know what? No, I don't.
Hose it down.
No, I've got both, and they're the same material.
Yeah, it's
So it's not super sturdy.
not.
Um,
And it gets holes in it and from like boxed things at the grocery store.
Yeah, so easily kind of penetrated
It
and
is.
ripped.
It's not a great bag.
Mhm.
Maybe we can look in, if we're gonna jointly do it, maybe we can partly do it to increase the number, or partly to increase the quality to one that's actually reusable,
Mhm.
well reusable.
It might make sense if it's
Yeah.
maybe if this
Can
is
I-
$1 a unit, and then the reusable cotton ones are closer to $3 a unit, or
Yeah.
upwards of that amount. Maybe we can combine budgets and just get the cotton ones.
Cotton, or there,
Oh,
there's
there-
the
Yeah, there's, I have two, actually, I just didn't have to bring with me today. It's those like you can fold into a little bag and
That's
hold
what I
just
was
like
gonna
that.
have.
And
Yeah.
those are
Those are-
definitely
Yeah.
washable, and then you can.
Those are the nylon ones that Rachel Bray has
they're
brought.
Yeah,
really strong.
yeah.
That's,
Very
yeah.
strong. I mean, we don't have, if we have to order less, but the better one, I think
Yeah.
it will be more
I
attractive.
think it'd be better than this kind. This kind
Yeah.
is not that reusable.
Yeah, it has a
Yeah,
shelf
doesn't
life for
say
sure.
anything about, that doesn't connect with our CAC.
Well, we've changed the logos.
Yeah.
Superior
Oh, you-
Recycling
He
has
said he was
a
gonna
logo.
change,
Oh, okay, so you're
that
gonna-
we would
Okay,
switch
I
out.
thought you were gonna use that.
Well, it wouldn't say Summit Bank, so we could put the Superior Recycles logo on this side. So, for
So
next
I think we
month.
should look into alternatives, and if you need pricing information from sort of the recycling industry, let me know, or whatever.
Okay, I'm gonna check on I wanna call them like Lasac. I can't remember the name on the one that Rachel Bray always had. Was it Lasac? So I'll
It's
check on
also-
one of those.
I
kind of
think they're in
fold-up
Denver.
travel-
I think that business is in Denver.
Really?
Yeah.
It was like, almost like a travel size.
Oh, no, E-Bags is in Denver.
I-
Big bags.
So
I
two
can-
more options. So
I
maybe
can-
the
I
more
can look at
traditional
my
cotton
end.
ones, and then also the little fold-up ones that kind of fit in your purse or your
Yeah.
bag, your satchel.
Yeah, those will be nice. I can look at my end, and if there's any logo or whatever, I can send it to you. Yeah.
I'll see what I can find. I get zillions, so.
Those seem to be the ones that all of the manufacturers have, or the little, like the ones that you described, Tanya, that Rachel Bray had last year.
Mhm.
The ones that fold up into just travel along carry
Mhm.
size,
Yeah.
and everybody else is just kind of the traditional cotton washable ones that are a little more durable,
Yeah.
I think that
Well,
Lisa, you were referring
we've got
to. Those seem to be kind of the best options.
multiple
And then this
options.
one was kind of in the middle that the chamber's already using.
Yeah.
So we'll have some other, I'll see if I can get two of those options for next month.
Thank you.
Then I mentioned the banner. So banner's been ordered for the group to use at events going forward. And then the standard item that I always seem to talk about, or I want to go over with the group, I never seem to put on the agenda. So the items that are part of your work plan to coordinate for the monthly newsletter, the town's Superior Sentinel. The items that were in last month we talked about, some of the same items, and then also a couple of new items I wanted to touch base on that were in this month's newsletter. CAFR, Colorado Association for Recycling, had a great student art video project last month or 2 months ago that was great, and the winners were chosen, and there was a link to it in this month's newsletter. The Do Good program about picking up dog waste, we had the yard waste recycling facility. You didn't see it in the newsletter. It was announced here, open year round. Like I just talked about, and then also the options for discarding unwanted bulk items is listed. And then the save the date for the Arbor Day celebration, and our wildlife walk. And then Youth Corps, some of the usual items, and then the Energy Smart Tips for February. So those items were all listed. Some of the items will be in next month. There wasn't, also for next month, there will be an ad for the Household Hazardous Waste Day. And that was it for the newsletter items. So that was kind of it for that item on the agenda for new business and update items. And then if there aren't any questions on that, Jim Payne from the Rock Creek Master Homeowners Association is here to talk about an ongoing dialogue that we've had for a while about trying to coordinate getting the word out about what to do on high wind days.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. So I'm here on behalf of the Rock Creek Master Homeowners Association. And this is a subject that I've brought up and we've discussed in this venue a number of times. And it's something that the town board has also asked about, and that's what can we do to address windblown trash when we have a wind event on a collection day. And what that does, just for those who haven't experienced it or may not really be in a location where they really feel the brunt of it, but once bins get knocked over or bins are overstuffed and things begin flying out, it sends a lot of trash into the streets, into open space, and particularly what tends to happen is certain homeowners who are in the right location. Ilya Guguris is one of them because he's at the east end of a cul-de-sac that on a street that runs east-west, and I live on Clayton Circle, so I'm on the bottom of the circle. It runs east-west, but the two homes at the eastern end of the bottom of the circle, they just get all of this trash, just collects. And so we've tried to come up with ways of addressing this, and I've discussed some of the things we were looking at in here. We were looking at any way to latch the bin or weight it down, and various sorts of things like that. So we met with Waste Connections on this because we knew that but some of these ideas might work or might not work or might present a problem for them or might not. So essentially, the ones that were eliminated were any kind of latching mechanism or anything that would weight the lid down. That presents problems for them in their collection process, and it also actually we see some safety issues with anything that weights that lid. In fact, I'm laughing, but our president of the HOA, Steve Smith, who's a tinkerer, was tinkering around trying to come up with something, and he attached a weight, like a 20, 30-pound weight, something like that, under the lid to see if that would keep it down. And the wind blew it up and hit him in the face and broke his nose. So, but you can see how that could happen. So we looked at the possibility of weighting things and putting weights in the bottom and all of that, and there's just no solution, and Waste Connections said that just wouldn't work from their point of view. So the other major approach was just because when you tell people, hey, do something about the wind or weight it down, the question is how. So we also looked at the subject of bagging trash. Now, a lot of people, of course, bag their bagging recycling. A lot of people bag their trash, but people tend not to bag their recycling.
And they don't allow it.
Yeah, well, they do.
I've heard.
So, well, that's what we looked at. I mean, we knew that there could be issues there. I had a couple of years ago, I had looked into, I'd asked Waste Connections, just individually, not through the HOA, because I personally like to recycle all of my junk mail and so forth, and I don't like the idea of that blowing all over for privacy reasons, in addition to just that I don't like to see that happening. And they told me at the time that you could bag it, but they had suggested, and I have since used, which works very well, a 30-pound craft, but most people use for leaves. That works very well. They're self-standing. I have one in the house. I throw all that stuff in there, put that into the recycling bin. It's a lot of weight. It's not going to blow all over the place if it does get tipped. But they have come back and said, Waste Connections, and we had a formal meeting with them on this. They had their operation guy. They had their head of sales and service that covers both the town and the HOA. They looked at that and they said that they were very comfortable with using plastic trash bags. They're contractually allowed a certain amount of contamination, and this is nowhere near the level that that they're allowed. And so there's that raises, so one solution is to, and let me back up. What we're saying is there are things that we can consider generally good practices that people should do. It'd be good for people to do all the time. But we're talking about when we know we're in a windy period or there's a high wind advisory or forecast for high wind, what can we tell people to do? The town and the HOA jointly is the idea. And one is to bag their trash and bag their recycling. And we could say something like, if bagging has benefits for you, works for you, and you want to do it week in, week out, as I do, then we suggest these craft recyclable bags. But if it's a wind event, feel free to use a trash bag. If you're not going to bag everything in your bin, try to get as much weight into a bag and put it on the top. And so that's number one. And I'll just, there are essentially 5 things that
I just want to, and I apologize, I was thinking of the Boulder County MRF, which Waste Connection doesn't
Right.
use. So they're the ones that don't like the plastic, so.
Right.
I
And
apologize.
I was surprised they came, but anyway, they did. So, and then, did you hand this out?
I did.
Okay. So then number 2 was keep the lids closed. Now, technically, you're supposed to do that anyway, but, and there's no question that there are people who totally abuse it. You'll see stuff sticking way out, and not just, it's not so much when you have something that's tall, it's when they just throw way more pile bags and all kinds of stuff that really is beyond the capacity of the bin. That's asking for trouble even without wind. But what we would do is say, in a wind advisory situation, say, keep your lids closed, nothing above the top of the bin. Because that just, we figure, and this is, again, this is not a hard and fast number. We discussed this with Waste Connections, and maybe, Lisa, you know more about this. But our expectation, our experience is, subject to anyone else's input on this, that at, what did I say here, 20 to 30, 15 to 20 miles per hour wind or gust, you're likely to get your lid lifted up. But if it's already not closed to begin with, it's going to could be less than that. And that 30 to 40 miles per hour, your bin begins to move or turn over depending on how much weight is in the bin. Those are numbers we can try to hone, but so keep the lid closed. And then the other one that they really hadn't thought of before, but that we've been thinking about because I've tried it and it works, is turning the bins. So this would, if you're, my street's a good example because I'm at the southern end of Clayton Circle. It goes east-west there, and it's pretty open, so the winds zip right across. If you live on the west side of the circle and your house faces east, you don't have much problem because your bin is already facing, I'm assuming the wind is usually from west to east. Your bin is already facing the right way. You've got blockage from the houses. But if you're down along where I am or up on the east side, you tend to, what happens is if you turn the bin 90 degrees, the wind tends to force the lid down rather than up if it's closed. And if it does go over, and it's less likely to go over because it's more stable in that direction. And then if it does go over, the lid, gravity pulls the lid down and tends to protect it from blowing out. So the question was, does that create any problem for Waste Connections? And they say no, they're fine. They can pick it up in any direction.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a little, well, I've watched them, I've done it, and I've watched the truck, and the truck doesn't hesitate, and it doesn't have any problem. My concern, the question I asked them, because I knew physically it would work, was whether that would then put more stress on the lid. And they didn't see a problem with it.
And if you recommend it on only windy days.
Yeah,
no
oh
big
yeah.
deal.
So that's number 3. Number 4 is an obvious one. Just wait as long as you can. I know this is people, when you say this, some people go, oh, I got to leave it for them. I mean, the guy next door to me has to leave for work at 4 in the morning, and he gets up and does it, and it's noisy and everything else, but he has to do it, and people understand that. It's just saying that when there's a wind alert, see what you can do to wait as long as you can to put it out. I think that's pretty much an obvious one. And then the fifth one would be, if there's a wind advisory, we ask you not to put out additional bags or containers or additional trash or recycling items, cardboard boxes on that day. Just wait till the next week. You know, Waste Connections in our relationship with them is very good about getting out, picking that stuff up, putting them in. You know, there's no extra fees or anything. They're very good about that. And just say, look, if it's a wind advisory day, don't do that. Wait, keep it back, hold it back for next week. So, anyway, those are the items. Let me stop there. How do those sound, or does anyone have any other ideas or any problems with that?
I think they sound great, and I've also done something which I know you wouldn't advocate, but on a day when I knew it was just going to go over, I've gone ahead and laid it down, and with the lid down.
Right, so that's sort of if it's windy enough, turning the bin, it'll end up there anyway. So.
And then nothing comes out when you do that.
Right, so that sort of supports the turning the bin. You're just going ahead and laying it over. I work at home, so I'll sometimes do that, and then when I see the truck coming, I'll run out and pick it up.
Yeah, that's the problem, laying it down.
Now, the recycling, they get out anyway, and actually physically arrange the bin.
And the recycling ones, boy, it's not just it's not just the stuff. There's a lot of bottles and stuff that come flying out of that too, that actually end up breaking, and you end up broken glass all over the place. And that's heading my way too.
Right. So this is going to be. I'm sorry.
Sorry. So I have two suggestions. One I would add would be say, if you can hold the trash and the recycling till next week, do it.
Right.
There's no reason to put out a recycling bin that's not full.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
and I see delay of a different kind. You're talking about delay of the day, during the day, but I'm suggesting that you
That's a
see
good
if you
point.
actually need to put it out.
If you don't need to put the bin out, don't put it out. That's a
Even
good
with
idea.
the
And then-
trash, I think that's, I'm sorry.
No, trash, you get it.
No, because you were talking about the recycling, and I was thinking, even with trash. If
No,
it's
I
like-
said both.
Oh, okay, you did, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, and people can make that judgment. I mean,
Yes, of
trash
course.
is
They can make the
smelly,
judgment.
depending on where people, but recycling, if
If
you're
they
not,
put their
if it's not full, there's
food
no
down the
reason. We have
disposal,
weekly
they probably don't
pickup.
have much that's stinky.
Right.
The,
My recycling is full every week, so.
well, as is mine, but yes, there are many people out there
Right.
who
aren't.
The other thing that I was going to mention, but I don't think it's a good solution, but it is a solution, and that is that there are bear-proof containers, but there are also retrofits that are like a la bear-proof containers. Those would keep the lid shut until the truck actually pushes in two things on the side that opens it. It requires a retrofit on the truck, but it also requires a retrofit
Right.
on the can. True bear-proof containers cost about $250 a piece instead of $55. Retrofits that Western has done cost about $100 on. So just FYI. I'm not saying it's a good solution, I'm just saying
We didn't
it is
see
one.
it, certainly not at this stage,
Nope.
that.
But if you were just doing an inventory of all possible solutions,
Right, that's a good point. I mean, they, right. Are those the same kind of plastic material, just with some sort of a, so it's got some hold on it that the truck, when the truck pinches it or
It's like
whatever?
a person, you have to push two things in at the same time. The truck
Right,
has to
right,
push
right.
two things in at the same time, and a bear
Almost
can't
like
figure
a
that
pill
out.
bottle, where
Yes.
you have to
Right.
latch onto two places rather than just one, because a bear isn't going to try two spots. You have to think like a bear when it comes to trash.
Okay. So the other, and let me just tell you where we are with this. I just want to talk a little bit about communication, but, so we've met with Waste Connections, we've given it all of our thought, tried to explore all the possibilities, and this is what we've come up with, so that what we would then do is, I need to go back, I want to get your comments first, then I'll bring it to the rest of to the HOA board just to make, just like as I'm doing to you, just to see what they have to say. And then if everybody's comfortable with it, we would present it, ideally either jointly or with your imprimatur, present it to the board. And when I was talking to Martin, one place to do this may be just to bring it up at the dinner, because it's not really an item that the board has to approve. It's just something that the board has expressed interest and has asked us to look at. So I'm okay with it either way, but then we run it by the board just to get their thoughts. And then the question is communication. Originally, our idea was that we would watch the forecast. If there was a high wind event for a Monday occurring between 7 Sunday, 7 Monday, obviously, if it's one of those weeks when it's delayed, it would be delayed a day. But if there was a wind advisory forecast, we would send an e-blast out reminding people, alerting them that there was a wind event, and then reminding them of these steps to take. The problem is that since our collection day is Monday, that really puts a tax on our ability to really do that, both at the town and with the HOA, because we'd envision, both of us sending out an e-blast. Between the two of us, we cover, a lot of people. There's overlap, obviously, but we'd really get most of the people. So we're not sure to what extent that would work. Martin and I would have to look at that and figure out if it is. But at the very least, we could then begin to publicize these steps on the websites in e-blasts that are not necessarily specific to a particular wind event during those months when this is likely to happen, like now, and maybe when's the other time, really, May, June. I mean, I know
it's
it can
really
happen.
kind of spring,
right?
Spring and fall.
So and one thing about that is if we do that, we could also use that to provide other general information about trash and recycling. If that ends up happening 5 times in a season or something, when it goes out, we could also include general information about what you should be doing, what's recommended generally, and also we could include the do's and don'ts of recycling. This goes into recycling, this doesn't, because there's always confusion about that, as I'm sure you all know. So anyway, so that's the thought, and that's where we are. And
This is good, Jim.
any ideas that you think of after tonight? Just to let me know, let Martin know. We'd love to get as much input as we can. Okay?
Thanks, Jim. So,
Thanks.
Jim mentioned the idea of, finding a time to have a discussion with the board, and mentioned the opportunity that the committee has next month with the joint dinner with the town board, just to share some ideas on this, and maybe ask Jim or other members of the HOA board of directors if they'd be willing to just show up and share some of their input and hear from the members of the committee and the town board, just talk about some operational changes. Before the meeting, when Jim and I were chatting about this, we talked about, just having it as a regular item in the monthly newsletter, and then also place it on the website, since we have the options for discarding unwanted bulk items and some other.
Could be one of those things that goes
Sure,
on Channel
yeah,
8
kind
too,
of
on the
yeah.
stagnant
Channel
notice.
8, sure. Have more of a static, constant message, not necessarily just focused on when it's Sunday night and we all hear that it's going to be a windy Monday. Not everybody's going to check their email just between when we figure it out and when they would potentially have to put their trash out.
No, but they're going
anyway.
to tune right into Channel 8.
Hey,
Because I know you all
Seriously,
do.
Martin?
how else are you going to see the old board meetings?
But just having it
a
be.
board out front if we.
Mhm.
There you go, the reader board maybe. They could call their, spouse and say, hey, I just rode by, it's windy.
Yeah,
But just having it be part of the
we
common
can look at-
sense.
You can do any of those,
Yeah.
cards that you can hand out, stuff,
Mhm.
tips from it.
Sure, that might be something, we could put that on the bag. Windy days, turn your can. So obviously, some really bright ideas could come out of this.
Mhm.
So thanks, Jim, for putting the time and energy in that and coming and sharing that.
Good research.
So if it's okay with the group, I'll have this kind of I'll have this as a holdover item from this meeting to next meeting to revisit this and any maybe other ideas that you might come up with or any other brainstorms. And then if Jim's here next month for the meeting of the 10th, great. If not, I'll share with you anything that comes out of that before the meeting with the board, the joint session with the board on the 14th. So thanks again, Jim, for making the time to be here. If there aren't any other questions on this, there's a couple of other update items. We started a little late, so we're running past 6:30 at this point. So the town board considered the work plans from each of the advisory committees and commissions at the meeting, second meeting in January, so January 22nd, I believe, and approved all but the RCAC work plan, this committee's work plan. They had a couple of tweaks to make again this year, and we'll consider it again at the next board meeting on February 22nd. So.
Oh, you don't mean they changed it, you're saying they just didn't get to approving it? Or there was so
Both.
much discussion that it's holding over?
There were some discussion items that the town manager and I noted during the dialogue that we needed to incorporate, a little bit like last year's, couple of changes that I haven't had a chance to compare notes with the town manager and see that he and I both had the same notes.
What came up? I mean, Joe is here too.
I wasn't there.
Oh.
Joe wasn't there for this meeting and didn't have a chance to speak as the town board's liaison with this group. So there are a couple of questions about timing and the sharing of information that we talked about during the first quarter of comparing trash and recycling data and the fact that we do get the coordinated data from the trash hauler. Second quarter, promoting the Boulder County PACE program. Yes, we do that now, and it does focus on buildings. The light bulb mailer, the town board wasn't interested in having a separate expense just for the light bulb mailer, but to do more outreach via the newsletter and e-blast instead of a mailer. Number 8.
Seem to remember Garden in the Box.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about garden in a box, and I needed to make sure that the town manager and I had the same item there. I wasn't gonna put my guess out there, Joe.
I
A
couldn't
note
tell
on-
from the minutes what the ultimate deal was on that.
On the garden in a box?
Yeah.
Well, I think some of it was just some clarification for the board member who had a question about it, the fact that we have participated in the program in the past and we have publicized it in the past. So some of it was just reminding board members who might have had that fall off their radar more than anything. There's a question about the education plans and how they're tied to PACE. A couple of questions about attendance and quorum, a couple of things that weren't really related. That was really it. You know, a little bit like last year, a couple of tweaks to maybe 3 or 4 bullet points on this. So the board will consider those at the meeting on the 22nd.
Thanks.
So it's not that you don't have a work plan, it's just needed, the board was interested in tweaking a couple of notes on it.
So we're going to look at the updated work plan next meeting, or?
Yes, I'll send it to you all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You won't have a chance to
Yeah, we don't.
do anything before they do something, we do something.
Well, the committee can make
They're not-
suggestions or recommendations
Oh, yeah,
on
they're
any
not really
particular
interested.
topic
The
that
meeting
might be
will-
interested in.
They're not Yeah, it's,
But the
It
board
will be
ultimately
before
approves
our
it.
next meeting.
Tanya, did you have a question?
No, I was just saying, I thought that we're going to look into the updated work plan next meeting, but then the town board meeting will be before that. Before
Yeah.
next meeting.
Well, yes. So the sequence is the committees make a recommended work plan, and then the board can choose to accept, change, edit, do anything they wish, and then it goes back to the committees for them to execute or carry out. In this instance, the committee was interested in making some changes and then have it come back to them. But if this committee wanted to make any suggestions or changes based on what the version that comes from the board ends up looking like, this committee can always make a recommendation to change it. that has nothing to do with timing. That's any time of the year, any month, any meeting, any occasion that this group gets together, you can recommend anything you wish. As long as you have five votes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Was I can't remember, I mean, I was here when you went through it, but was there in the work plan about xeriscaping? I know that's something that,
For
Trying to do
thinking of
outreach.
the
Like a
education.
garden tour of xeriscaping and promotion of
there were-
xeriscaping.
and my
Those
question,
were-
so.
I don't think there was a workshop this
Did they
time.
comment on that? Was there any discussion of that?
No, not during the board's dialogue. They were looking globally at all of the committees and commissions
Right.
and didn't spend too much time on any one group.
Right, okay. Because that's something the HOA is really interested
Yes.
In a positive way, you're saying?
in. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, that's all. Just clarify.
And that was something that came up last month, Jim, that you had touched on, the idea that the HOA's board has been interested in you mentioned a couple of times the Master Gardener series, an
Right,
education
well,
series that the town had hosted.
a couple years ago.
It was in, I think, in 2006 and 2007, that were very poorly attended for whatever reason, like you and I have talked about in the past. Just the idea of having some community-based education items that weren't necessarily items that were pass-through items for county workshops or CSU extension workshops, doing
Right.
something locally. Some of the workshops that have happened in Lafayette or Louisville or county facilities that we passed on as education items are great, but they're not necessarily superior
Right.
specific.
People need information desperately. Very few people understand it. They don't know what to do. They go out and find an experienced landscaper who understands it, that's fine, but you're still not reaching into the broad, middle of Rock Creek and other places that people just don't know what to do. And we're not experts in it either. I mean, I'm learning. We prove a lot of these things now, but that's the interest in having some sort of the HOA would get behind it and try to get people out and interested in it.
Which is great. It would be great if we had, number one, the staffing resources, or the budget, or facility to host workshops like this.
I mean, we have a number of people, not a lot, but a number who are using drought-tolerant grasses like EnviroTurf and so forth, with very good result. And but we don't know enough to really open that up and recommend it to people. I mean, we just don't know. We just don't have the knowledge base. So we really need help, and I think there's an opportunity to really spread xeriscaping in a good way.
So thanks for bringing that up, Jim. So that's, it's been an item that's been part of the ongoing dialogue here, a little bit like expanding the hours at the yard waste facility. It's become kind of a topic that is just part of our everyday kind of recognized issues to try and address. And that'll continue to be one. Hopefully we'll find some opportunities this year to offer some additional education. But no real specific plans yet. Leadership election was the next item on the agenda. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning. And that was it for the substantive items that were on the agenda. If there were any other items the group wanted to chat about, we talked a little bit about calendar items at the beginning of the meeting. I tried to note the items at the top of the agenda for the upcoming meeting times and also the events. So a couple of times, 3 times really, to get together next month for March. So March 9th with the business after hours event with the 3 different chambers in this part of the county. And then this committee's meeting the following night on the 10th, and then the joint work session dinner with the town board that following Monday the 14th. And then in April, the Household Hazardous Waste Day. So those calendar items I'll send you, and I'll have a note in the meeting notes. I'll just have some brief meeting notes to send out to the group. And those were the items I had on my list to bring up.
So for anybody that has dietary issues, should pass them on before the dinner so that we can have.
Yes, yeah, we try to always have a vegetarian dish at all of our dinners, if anybody's a vegetarian. But if anybody has a gluten-free, I think we've had a gluten-free request from this group in the past, so we'll be sure to have a gluten-free dish. But if there's anybody who has a dietary sensitivity, let me know. The catering folks who provide the dinners for us are very accommodating if anybody has anything that's specific. Feel free to let me know.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Mark.
So if nobody has anything else, you're free to go.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Thank you all for.
Thanks for coming down,
coming.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
Tell your friends and neighbors to volunteer.
Yeah, so if we didn't,
We need a
well,
full-
Hon, you weren't here, but
we need a
we haven't
full
had
board.
any applications.
We need a full group.
Maybe I'll argue, maybe I'll try to push Dana to.
Be nice to have see Dana.
Nice to see everybody. See you next week.
So Joe, was that you in East?
Take care. So
Pardon?
have a good rest of your week.
East?
Yeah, I was back east.
You go to Clinton?
I was in Clinton when New York City got hit.
Oh, really?
Yes, with Dodge Apple.
Have a good
By
rest
the
of your
time we
month.
went down to New York the following Wednesday, that had really melted a great deal. But then, we were supposed to come back Monday, the Monday of the board meeting. And, I think it was Monday of the board meeting. Anyway, Monday, and we got the weather advisory from United Airlines that if you don't change your tickets, you might not get back.
Oh, really?
And so we changed, came back
Are
Sunday.
you flying
and-
into New York, to the city, or?
we flew, well, we were coming home. There was a big storm that hit here. We were back in time for that. But we came home Sunday, and if we had waited till Monday, we would not have made it. And I'm not sure when we would have gotten home because we canceled some of the
Take care.
flights.
Thanks for coming. Have a good rest of your month.
So it was a good trip, though. It's funny, it was the strangest storm. Long Island got hit with like 30 inches of snow. New York City did. You go up Westchester County, had nothing. And we were driving down the thruway,
Mhm.
there's nothing there. You know, what is this? It just veered out to sea. So Washington, all the places south. I was told Cape Cod got hit somewhat, but
Anyway, I
But it
don't
just-
know if you were on the invitation.
So how was?
It was. I've
Oh,
gotten some of
okay,
those.
great.
I've gotten some of those. I get, I'm on CAFR's list, and I'm on some of the CDPHE, and I'm on some of the state lists. I get a lot of that stuff. But as you know, the way my job description is now, it's very minimal the amount of time that I can put on that. So it's probably not gonna, unless it's something that has real specific impact for the town, I just can't prioritize it. Yeah.
Right, it doesn't look like it has.
But Dawn was so nice. Dawn sent me a couple of emails, and she was very diligent. It's not for lack of effort, but she did a great job, and she even called and left a very polite message.
Okay, because we were trying to make sure that elected officials, types got invited as well, just because some of the decision makers were so listed.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
we looked at the list, so, we copied down some staff and,
Mhm.
all kinds of levels. So
Yeah, very diligent, very diligent. Yeah. All right, good luck. Good luck on your trips around the state. Oh, wow. Well, hopefully they're almost as much fun as the first half.
I thought it was a big deal that the house was built in the 1850s, but just